What is up, world? It's your boy Tanh, and you are listening to the Wonton Wealth Podcast. Here, I'm going to unravel anything and everything commercial real estate related. And more importantly, we're going to add abundant value. So if you're ready, buckle up your eardrums. What is up, amazing people? Today, it is just myself. I don't have a guest for you, so you're going to have to listen to me for the entirety of this episode. For those who don't like listening to me, you're in the shitter. And for those who do, you're in for a treat because I'm going to go over all the shit that I've learned at the Best Ever Conference. Or more specifically, just a recap of how this year went. So I was actually in Salt Lake City for roughly a week, actually 8 days to be exact. I got in there a little bit early. I went with my boy Ash, Karna. We went to Solitude and Brighton, skied. Well, actually, I snowboard. So I was there for a couple of days, 4 or 5 days or so, hitting the slopes. Friday, actually, we got there on Thursday and we got a little bit of fresh snow. Friday was incredible. I was just cruising down this mountain. However, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday was not as great. The snow was a little bit shittier and it was getting a lot thinner on the mountain. And of course, on Tuesday was when it started dumping as we were leaving the mountain. Now, we left on Tuesday, obviously, because the Best Ever Conference started. Now, if you bought one of the bougier passes, which is the Conference Plus pass or the VIP pass, you had access to all the workshops that were there on Tuesday. The Best Ever Conference this year was February 17th through, I believe, the 20th. So again, if you got one of the higher passes, bougier passes that would have given you access to workshops on the first day, which was Tuesday. Now, some of you are probably thinking, what the fuck is the Best Ever Conference? And those of you who are thinking that, you're probably living under a rock because this year was the Best Ever Conference's 10th anniversary. So this has been going on for 10 years, people. It actually started out in Colorado, Denver, and Keystone, a couple other locations in Denver there for the first 5 years or so. And the latter 5 years have all been in Salt Lake City at the Hyatt. First off, I'm not a fan of Salt Lake City. Their rules are just fucking stupid to me. I don't understand them. I don't even know why they're in action, but that is my only qualm with Salt Lake City. Other than that, the city's gorgeous. The mountains are awesome, and skiing there or snowboarding there is really, really fun. Now, again, back to the Best Ever Conference. What the hell is it? Well, it is a conference that's usually roughly 3 days or so, and it's tailored to, historically, it was tailored to multifamily. And now, as it has grown and developed, it's now all commercial real estate inclusive. Again, it's roughly a 3-day event. You got panels for all 3 days. Sometimes you have workshops. Sometimes you have matching with partners, or sometimes you have partner hunting, and sometimes you just can be there to network altogether. It would be for people who are active investors and or passive investors, as well as general partners looking for investors. Its primary focus is on relationships, on education, and deal making. But for me, it's been one of the best networking opportunities that you can find. Usually the Best Ever Conference is really good with like a no sales pitch, except for a newly formed pitch slam. I think that's about 3 years old or so, where people kind of come up and pitch their deal to a bunch of sharks with the audience there. So if you do well, you get a prize. And on top of that, you get a little bit of notoriety from the audience as well. So this year, again, the program was structured a little bit differently. Again, the first day had a ton of workshops where you can attend with, I think, 50, maybe 100 other people or so, listening to a couple speakers. The workshops were about an hour or so a piece. And after that, you got Actually, I'll pull up the website for you guys just to kind of go through it. Second day, if you were a general admission person, it would have been your first day. But you got a couple panels out there. Everything started at roughly 8:30 or so, and your panels can be an economic update with John Chang, and then it could be a couple other speakers that tailor their speech to syndicators, the general partners or operators, and some talks will tailor to limited partners. And some of them obviously would be both. This year, obviously, AI is one of the bigger topics. So we had a few speeches or talks about AI. A couple sponsors were up there as well. They talked about publishing a book and taxes, and then of course we also had the pitch slam this year. So the pitch slam again is where operators pitch their product, their company, for a certain amount of time and answer some Q&A by the judges / the sharks, and you get a little bit of notoriety from the audience as well. So the winner of that usually either gets an investment from the sharks or they get some type of other prize. This year, I believe it was an advertising package through Best Ever versus a direct investment from the judges. Yeah, so roughly if you're a general admission guy, you got 2 full days of panels and talks, education materials, as well as some networking. Usually they throw one of the days has a party in there somewhere. I believe this year was on the second day or / first day. And then the last day where they kind of pitch the winners of the pitch slam, it's technically a half day. It ends around 12:30 or so, but yeah, that's the general program of the Best Ever conference. I say that because next year it's going to be a little bit different. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but this is how it's been for the past 10 years or so. You got a lot of education, but people really go to network. They meet people, whether it's on the app, set up a talk with them, or just naturally go up and talk happy hours or lunches, etc. That's where you really make the connection. That's where I found it most valuable, and I believe the majority of the attendees will tell you the same. Now, I have to tell you, I am not your typical conference goer. I pay a couple $100, $1,000 for these tickets, but I rarely attend the sessions. The first reason being that all these sessions are recorded. So I can always reference them again when I need to, whenever they come out. And two, I'm really there to socialize. I'm really there to network. And so you could see me pretty much roaming the hallways in just my typical nonchalant outfit, t-shirts usually, ball cap, sometimes a jacket. But this year I only had my snowboarding gear, so I had my snowboard jacket on pretty much the entire time. Well, it was also because I was staying at a different hotel from the venue. But nonetheless, the networking for me is really valuable, and that's why I'm roaming the hallways, trying to catch people that I have talked to before, or just new people that are roaming around and look like they would enjoy a conversation. I'll actually do a podcast on how you attend conferences and whatnot if people think that's valuable. But for the sake of this, this conference specifically, I usually just roam the hallways, but my favorite place to meet other investors and just talk shop is really the bar. And we are at the Hyatt Regency in Salt Lake City. They have a bar there called The Contribution. Everybody at that bar pretty much knows me. The regulars that usually work there, they typically know me. We know each other on a first name basis because I'm practically there almost all day, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I've met a lot of great people at that bar. And that's how I prefer to network, talk shop and talk real estate, because people know me from people can see the real me. They know that the real me is not bullshit. They know that the real me after one drink is still the same me sober. So that's my practical advice. Take it with a grain of salt. And so with that being said, I did not go to all of the sessions. I've only gone to all the sessions that my buddy Osh was presenting in, or if it was in relation to non residential commercial real estate. I was at the workshop that Osh spoke at, which was in regards to, again, non residential commercial real estate. About 50 people attended. A lot of interest there, coming from retail, warehouses, office, how it differs from multifamily. A lot of interest there and a lot of good conversations happened during that workshop. I couldn't speak to the other workshops, but I knew his was a hit. The following day, so I attended practically all the pitch slams because my friend Joe and Osh were judges on the panel, so I was there to support them. I didn't really listen to a lot of the pitches, but I do know that there were a lot less multifamily pitches than alternative investments. And when I say alternative investments, I mean non-residential investments. And then there were a couple other options, like this one guy was a litigation attorney firm, and somehow you could invest in one of those. Data center was a play, land was a play, and I think there was one or two other ones that I am missing. But again, alternative assets, alternative investments that were not multifamily, and that in an asset class that got a little bit more creative. So now, with that being said, a lot of sponsors did not show up again this year. I think the sponsorship was a little bit light. I think the attendance was a little bit lighter than the previous year. So, I guess my question for the audience who's doing multifamily is, what the hell is going on? If you guys know what the hell is going on, let me know on IG, LinkedIn, whatever. But that's just what I have seen, and I have no fucking idea what the issue is. Are your deals hitting the shitter? Is everything going south? No clue. Again, reach out to me if you got a clue. The conversations that I've had with people, I didn't go to any of the sponsor booths, but the conversations that I had with people in the hallway was a little bit more gloomy. So on the first day, it was, within 2 hours of the first happy hour, I've heard of like 2 or 3 or 4 scams that were going on from people in the space, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What, this is barely the first day, and we're already talking about pretty much the gloomiest shit possible. So I wonder if those conversations continued throughout the conference. I only heard it the first day. Everything else throughout was pretty normal. It was par for the course, pretty chill. So, we were talking about investments, opportunities, the challenges with certain asset classes, how the market is moving, raising capital, things like that. I do also feel like that there's been a lot of capital raisers this year. Fund to funds still the main thing, but that might be the case because the attendance was a little bit lower. I'm not sure. I also did attend Joe's keynote speech, which is always great. He has a lot of actionable advice. I don't think I'm going to pack that into this episode. I will probably do an episode on that in and of itself once the recording comes out. But always lots to learn there. So would I recommend you going to the Best Ever Conference? I think so, if you are someone who values the networking piece of conferences. Again, all this shit is recorded. Check it out later. You're there to meet people. You're there to talk to people, build relationships, build partnerships, what have you. So I think that is the most valuable piece of a conference. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely do that. So I guess my first epiphany is that my method of networking is still intact. It hasn't gone down the shitter yet. I still meet people at bars. We still have great conversations, and that's that. Secondly, I think multifamily might be at its top. I think there's too much competition in the space. I think a lot of people are in it, and they're just buying shit that they should not be. And obviously that's not all operators. And I'm not technically bashing on multifamily. I think I'm bashing on the people that are trying to get in it quickly and make some money and just dip. So I've heard a lot of horror stories there. I'll probably do an episode on that. But I think the biggest lesson here from my second point is that you have to vet your sponsors adequately. Vet the operators, vet the sponsors. I would do more due diligence on the operators themselves. If they're a multifamily, if they were myself, figure out as much as you can about them. Dig up some dirt on them, whatever. Look at their social media presence. See if you can find out where they live. See if they're truthful, whatever they're telling you on these webinars or via email, via phone calls, trust them, yeah, to an extent, right? But you have to verify all that information. You have to really know the person before you invest with them. If you have a 5-point or a 10-point checklist on whether or not you invest in an asset, let's say it's multifamily or whatever deals that I have, right? That's not enough. 10 points is I like to keep it simple, but I don't think 10 points is enough. I think it's anywhere between 10 to call it 200. I met somebody that has like a 220 point checklist. Like, holy shit, right? That probably a little bit aggressive for me. I'd probably be somewhere in the middle. Call it 100, call it 50, depending on what the 50 are. With that in mind, having a checklist like that just for the asset or the investment itself is great. I think you should have a checklist for the operator as well. You have to know the operator. You have to truly trust what they're saying and verify that what they're saying is correct and that they're not going to fucking run off with your money, right? So that would probably be my biggest PSA for everyone listening. If shit is truly going south, if these scams are really present, I would urge everybody out there who's an investor to double check, triple check everything. I don't care how diligent you are, be a little bit more diligent. Up that shit by 50% or 100%. You want to make sure your investment in these operators, in these syndicators, in these deals is a calculated guess versus just a guess. And with that being said, I will touch on next year's Best Ever Conference. That will be Best Ever Conference 11. No idea where it's going to be. No idea when the dates are. But I do know it's going to cost roughly $3,000 if you're a GP. Now, LPs and fund managers, you have a part within the conference where you can apply to attend, and they'll kind of ask a few questions of you. I don't know what that cost is going to be, but the rumor has it that the quality of the conference is going to change. Obviously, this format in and of itself is going to change. You'll probably have 4 or 5 speakers at most. It might be a 2-day event, but the crux of it is that it'll be more intimate for GPs and LPs alike to find each other, kind of a partner matchmaking type deal, so that hopefully you're getting more quality conversations as well as quality investments that are out there. I plan on going to support the Best Ever brand, support Joe, support all the people that are hosting it. So if you are going, let me know. Drop me a DM and we'll link up at Best Ever 11. Until next time. And that's a wrap. If you've made it this far, that means you've listened to the entire episode. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And if you've learned something or found it useful, share it with one of your homies. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm pretty active on IG. My handle is pro_TANH. Reach out, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, or what you want to hear about in the future. I'm here to tailor this to you. Until next time.